Wildlife officials in BC are trying to figure out why dozens of birds literally dropped from the sky dead. Witnesses say they'd never seen anything like it. And as the CBC's Belle Puri reports, people are sharing their theories about what happened.
That's the way I could describe it. It was kind of like an Alfred Hitchcock weird, literally.
It's hard to believe what happened, except for hints on the ground. It was last Friday at dusk.
All of a sudden we seen birds doing like loop-de-loops and all sorts of, flying around, and literally just turned around and went right into the ground.
Kevin Beach and his pal Sean Phillips were driving when the flock of birds fell out of the sky and hit the pavement. The pair pulled over to investigate.
The birds were twitching and they were in blood spots, like little pools of blood here and there. Like they hit the ground hard. They were dead. So, there was no survivors. They basically all just right into the ground.
Some of the casualties can still be found at a pullout along the busy causeway from the Tsawwassen Ferry Terminal. The Canadian Wildlife Service confirms something did happen here. Biologists refer to it as a mortality event. Some of the bird carcasses were collected and sent to an animal health lab for post-mortem analysis.
Fish dying in part of the Poudre River. Colorado Parks and Wildlife have been working this week to try and figure out what's killing them. Dylan Thomas shows us tonight officers are what they're having to do to try to find an answer.
What happened?
It's a major die-off.
It's a question Parks and Wildlife biologists still can't find an answer to.
In the thousands, it's not just a couple of fish.
Last week, Parks and Wildlife investigators responded to the northeast edge of Fort Collins after hundreds of fish went belly up along the Poudre River.
There was no one specific fish that was affected that we know of. There's multiple fish. There's been carp, there's been trout that has died.
Investigators believe the die-off was triggered along the Poudre, somewhere between Linden and Timberline, a developing area of Fort Collins and Larimer County. But as for the cause,
there's 5 or 6 hypotheses that are kind of out there.
Among the possibilities, thermal shock, a result of the fluctuating temperatures as of late.
Low flow combined with that, so the oxygen levels change real quick, and that could cause some fish that are maybe more susceptible to those sudden changes to die off.
Also a possibility, humans, with the area in question booming in population both residentially and commercially.
And maybe there's construction in the area and something got into the water.
With samples taken, biologists will now compare that data to historical data. By doing so, Parks and Wildlife hopes to find out what exactly happened, especially if it was avoidable.
To prevent it from
Tonight,
happening
red tide
again.
is killing tons of fish and other sea life. Visitors tell ABC Action News reporter Julie Solomon they wanted to visit Siesta Key today after hearing it's one of the best beaches in the country. But tonight, they're overwhelmed by the smell of all the dead fish.
Visitors from states like Louisiana and Texas shocked to see Siesta's shoreline.
The choking, gagging, coughing, and the horrible smell.
Tonight, Florida Fish and Wildlife officials have received more than 400 fish kill reports in 7 counties, including Pinellas, Manatee, and Sarasota. Red tide killing fish. Visitors spotting dead sea life on Siesta Key Beach.
Because this was horrible, and this was actually my first time coming to Florida.
State wildlife officials say red tide begins in the Gulf of Mexico offshore, then winds and currents bring it onshore. County officials cleaned up this portion of the beach earlier today, but as you can see, dozens of dead fish. Tonight, the smell overwhelming at times. We saw a wedding photographer wearing a mask as she photographed nuptials at sunset.
Read my lips.
Michael Holderness, a Siesta Key business owner, says the effects of red tide are devastating.
What do we do now? We lost the more fish than I've ever seen in my entire life.
This week, state wildlife officials rescued manatees with signs of red tide exposure in Charlotte County. Officials shared photos on Facebook. Tonight, they're asking people to always report distressed or dead wildlife to officials first before posting on social media.
We have manatees trying to hold each other up as they're dying. I mean, it's horrible.
Reporting on Siesta Key, Julie Salmon, ABC Action News.
Crabs are washing up dead on Bonita and Barefoot beaches. With stone crab season right around the corner, Scientists and crabbers are worried about how the industry will hold up with all the red tide in the Gulf. NBC2's Alexa Santos went to Barefoot Beach to find out how it looks today.
While many of the crabs have been cleaned up, as you can see here, there's still several species of crabs that are washing up on our beaches, crabs that are trying to escape the dead zone of oxygen in the water. Red tide's effects are still evident in southwest Florida, this time in the form of hundreds of crabs essentially committing suicide on the beach.
The crabs were actually coming out of the water and then dying on the beach from the sun because they did not want to be in the water.
FGCU marine scientists discovered a dead zone in the Gulf, meaning there's very little or no oxygen for fish and other marine life to breathe.
There is no oxygen in this water, and we saw a lot of crabs swimming on the surface.
Scientists say the crabs are trying to flee the poor oxygen conditions and aren't finding safe spots.
They're pretty much bulletproof, so to see them all committing mass suicide and dying on the beach means that we got a serious problem.
70 deep water whales have washed up dead on Scottish and Irish beaches. Many of the animals were Cuvier's beaked whales, deep divers, which are normally found far out in the Atlantic Ocean. Researchers have been trying to work out what caused their deaths. One theory is that military activity and sonar signals in the Atlantic may have played a part. Our Scotland correspondent Lorna Gordon reports from the Inner Hebrides.
The islands along Scotland's west coast have become a graveyard for Cuvier's beaked whales. In 1 month, more washed ashore here than in the previous 10 years combined. And scientists are trying to work out why they died.
It's not a natural occurrence.
Is it concerning what's happened?
It's very concerning, very, very concerning. It is possibly the highest ever mortality, as a recorded mortality for this particular whale species ever.
It's an invasion of monster mosquitoes.
They're all over the window. They're just waiting to attack.
The gigantic insects are 3 times the size of a normal mosquito. They are wreaking havoc across North Carolina in the aftermath of Hurricane Florence.
It's so bad. It's disgusting and terrifying.
Cassie Vodofsky recorded video of the blood-sucking pests swarming her car.
I've never seen mosquitoes this bad before. I worry about my kids, so we're really running to and from the car.
Even during our interview, she couldn't stop swatting them away.
I know, they're getting my legs.
Exterminating companies across the state are working overtime dealing with the outbreak of mosquitoes, which is estimated to number in the billions.
They're larger, they're more aggressive, and they bite through. They can bite you through your clothes. I have not experienced anything as bad as it has been this by far.
Homeowner Ryan Tittle agrees.
They were huge. A swarm of mosquitoes everywhere, more than we have ever noticed before.